Alright, hello everyone and welcome to Black Knight Gaming. We're here today with a 3.5 difficulty drop here in the Highlands, and, well, now that I think of it, let's go ahead and mix things up a little bit. So we're going to be taking Behemoth in the Highlander rather than Glitch. Glitch has, of course, been taking most of the experience here as we've progressed throughout the campaign, but, well, I want to have a pilot in reserve in case we take a head hit or something like that during that final push towards Coromadir. So let's go ahead and see if we can get Behemoth just a tad more experience. As a reminder for everyone, we are trying to outfit a couple more mechs with some decent weaponry here before we go towards Coromadir. The idea being, if we have a couple deployments in succession, we don't want to lose one of these nice, pristine, well, quite deadly mechs and not have a way to replace it. So the first priority that I have is improving this Marauder. Right now it's just a stock Marauder, and the twin PPC would be decent at decapitating mechs, but hopefully we can get some black market energy weapons to fill that one up. And in honor of the channel name, we could also field a couple Black Knights, which we have luckily salvaged quite a bit of during the last couple missions. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right in. Alright, so we've dropped in, and we've dropped in next to a supporting lance of pirates, led as always by Agamemnon, the, well, quite touchy and moody pirate, I suppose. This is actually one of my favorite mission types, and it's one that we haven't yet done on the channel so far, because I enjoy having an allied lance. It's one of the nice things about Rogue Tech and other mods like that let you field a couple additional mechs to kind of even the odds a little bit. And it said we should expect, I think, two lances rather, in opposition, and I can only hope that we have a couple more. We do have to keep at least one of those allied mechs intact, and I don't think that should be very difficult. We could probably chew through these mechs on our own, after all. I just figured, why not get a little bit more variety here with the missions that we see in these fights. And we also had a decent opportunity because I believe the payout for this is somewhere around 1.6 million. So if we have any bonus objectives or anything like that, we could walk away with quite a bit of, of sea bills here. So that right arm gets ripped off by a nice missile volley from our friends here, and let's see what we can use to follow up. So the Cyclops, well, only the snub would be within range, and we might be better off just... Oh yeah, okay, so we'll take the Cyclops right now and just sprint right up so that we can close with the rest of that armament. And we do actually manage to scout some of the remaining enemy, so it looks like our friends there are opening up once again with, looks like a large laser and maybe some scattered LRM fire, maybe an LRM-5, kind of hard to tell. And, well, so we can move the Annihilator up this way. That is where I anticipate this 40-tonner will come down. Maybe even the 60, but it would be nice to keep someone with the Pirate Lance as well, just in case they need more backup than we would expect. So let's move over this way with the Highlander and just go ahead and shoot in those twin Gauss rifles. Oh, that's just beautiful. So the Shadowhawk is alive, but suffers an ammo explosion, now both arms ripped off, which should make our job quite a bit easier. And let's go ahead and sprint the Annihilator over this way. So now it's time for Merrick. It looks like, well, I don't know. So there's two heavies there, and I don't see any yet. So it's possible that the other lance has most of those heavies, although it should be something we see on sensors, so I'm a little bit confused. Okay, so there's a fifth. I'm glad we sent the Annihilator over that way. I mean, Vulcans are not really truly terrifying, but it's a little bit of fire on that quick draw. And I don't really trust the enemy, well, not the enemy, but our allies, our erstwhile allies, as it were, to retreat one of their mechs if they really get in danger. I don't think that we can count on the best tactical acumen coming from the AI here, and that quick draw is taking a bit of a pounding. So if we go ahead and look in there, that left leg is, well, half dead, and everything else is fine, mostly. What was that? Was that an arm somewhere? Or no? A little bit of pounding on the torso, it looks like. Oh, not too bad. So let's go ahead, and we could use the Marauder now, fire in on that Shadowhawk once more, but I'd almost rather let the Cyclops do that, because we have put so much damage on that Shadowhawk already. It would be a bit of a shame to waste the precision strike on something that damaged, although we don't actually take it out kind of surprised that pilot's still up. It might have 2 instead of 3 pilot injuries. Maybe these LRMs will be able to push it over. Not quite. So that mech not quite falling and still surviving, although it's functionally useless at the moment. And a little bit of LRM fire coming in once again on that quick draw. I'm getting a little bit concerned. That mech may not survive unless we move up someone to basically meat shield. And we have the Annihilator, and we could move up similar... Well, yeah, we could move up even with that quick draw if we chose. But that would mean that we don't get a chance to shoot. So I'd rather shoot at the Vulcan for right now. Potentially, well, I'm not sure if they'll lose vision on any of those mechs because they do have the other, well, looks like, is that an assassin? I never actually checked. On that other side. But, you know, if they do, that saves us a little bit of fire, and it actually might have because they didn't shoot in there that time. So let's go ahead and move the Marauder up, take that other precision strike here, going for that assassin's head, and not landing it. So we've been really hit or miss with those head hits at the moment, which, well, those are the only 2 options. But you know, we've seemed to have a couple missions where we get head hits left and right, and then we have missions where we get basically nothing. So with how concentrated the enemy lances are over on that right-hand side, I will move the Highlander up this way. And then the Cyclops and the Marauder might actually become a bit of a flanking maneuver here to finish off these 2 damaged mechs and then collapse on the flank of that opposing force if given the chance. So let's see what the quick draw can do. It's still more engaged than I would like, but you know, it does manage some good fire there with those quad medium lasers. And let's see what they're going to do. That is a lot of LRM fire. That's probably a catapult. I can't quite tell. 65-tonner. Oh. It's a little bit late. I'm not really sure if that's a catapult or an archer or something like that, but certainly one of the 2. It could even be 2 of them if we have those 2 65-tonners. So, you know what? Let's go ahead and take the Cyclops. Moving up yet again on this left-hand side. New contacts. I don't think they're actually new. I think that's just the 2nd Lance, which we were told to expect, in all fairness. So there's a Rifleman, there's a Shadowhawk. So the Shadowhawk we could... Oh, that's just... man, that's just tempting. Alright. But it doesn't have... Oh, it does. It has the SRM2 still. Let's take a look at the Assassin. We might not be able to kill this mech. Well, only 2, 8. I think we might be able to. So let's go for the Assassin because it does have more guns still remaining on the field, and that mech goes down. So the Marauder may not actually have something to shoot at because that first mech is down, and I'm not sure we'll have line of sight on that other, well, armed Shadowhawk. So Rifleman moving up on this side. I'm glad we've moved the Annihilator over. That quick draw will probably die sooner rather than later, unless we can do something about it now. So Catapult moving in. That is a lot of damage going in there, and the right torso is destroyed. That means the only thing remaining on that right-hand side, aside from maybe the leg, yeah, that CT holding on with just 40 internal structure. So let's go ahead and move up Archangel and the Annihilator, see if we can distract a little bit from that damage quick draw. And is there anything... Oh, they've all kind of gone already, so let's go ahead and Vigilance this mech. The idea being to move him on Initiative 3 next turn, move up a little bit faster, see if we can't save this quick draw somehow. So let's take a look at what we'll be moving quickly. That Enforcer will be moving before the Rifleman. So let's shoot at that. Let's see if we can eliminate the things that would go potentially before we have a chance to move again. So we rip both arms off of that Enforcer. And, knockdown pilot injured. Well, we still have a couple more mechs to move. We have the Highlander, who can probably have a decent line of sight on that Rifleman. In fact, let's go ahead and see that now. Yeah, it's not a bad line of sight at all. We could alternatively fire in at that downed Enforcer, but there's really no reason to. I mean, if we take a look, the only thing it can do is melee, and that means that it's really not worth worrying about. So those twin Gauss rifles, just absolutely beautiful. The twin snobs coming in as well, and that Rifleman surviving better than I had thought. So in the past, we've been able to rip off arms with that sort of volley. It looks like we got close, because the Rifleman does lose both arms to a follow-up attack. And that Shadowhawk, well, that was a great use of multi-target. Let's see what we can do. So Medusa and the Marauder, kind of in the wrong place. Okay, so we have two choices. We can move up this way, clockwise, I guess you could say, rotation of sorts, but I don't think... So if we sprint, we could get there for next turn, and that would be fine. But if we come this way, let's see what we could use. So we could shoot in at that catapult, and I think we will go that way because we can slow the catapult down to initiative 1. We can also have a decent chance, although not a great one, and we do take that mech out. So those LRMs being off the board dramatically increase the survival chances of that quick draw. Okay, so a third lance. Well, alright, so that changes things a little bit. Oh, that quick draw is just not helping itself, is it? I suppose it could have done worse things. It could have just stood still, but if I were piloting that mech, I would have just dropped it back at a dead sprint. I mean, the armor on its back is better than exposing its front at the moment, which is kind of pathetic, but if we take a look in here, I mean, 35 armor, 70 structure, 40-40. If it gets hit in the front, it's more vulnerable than if it gets hit in the back. So our only change right now is that this Cyclops may not want to continue with this flanking maneuver, because if it does, it could expose its back to whatever remains over here, and or this new lance on our left. So instead, let's come in with the Annihilator like we had planned. This is why we vigilanced, well, I'm not really sure that's a verb, but why we used vigilance, rather, the last time. And that Enforcer has no guns, the Rifleman has a medium laser, so let's go ahead and shoot into this Wolverine. That AC-5 could be very deadly if we aren't careful. So I'm not going in for anything fancy. Let's just see if we can pile into that CT, and we do enough damage to take that mech out. So we've done some pretty good damage the last couple rounds, and that's a Jaeger mech. And does it get it? Oh, okay. That quick draw is down. So 3 remaining. Although we've dealt with most of the first 2 lances, I'd be surprised if the third drops anything exceedingly heavy. But I've been wrong before. I've been surprised before. So let's go in for another headshot, see if we can follow up. And we do. So I take back what I said earlier about our dodgy luck with those sorts of things. The Marauder taking down not 1, but 2 mechs this drop with those nice headshots. We may actually want to field the second one, even though it isn't a Marauder 2R. It's still good. It still has that Lance Command mod. Oh, okay. This is just embarrassing. I mean, 1 structure left? 1? How does that even... Oh, goodness gracious. Alright, so we only have the 1 structure left there. I wonder what would be better. So we could... Yeah, so let's just move here. Let's make sure we have a good firing arc on this other hostile drop, so we don't move up too far there. But we still have lots of ammunition, so let's just take out that Rifleman as quickly as possible. More than enough damage coming in from those Gauss rifles. And now our only remaining question, I'd be surprised if this Enforcer lives, and that Grasshopper, proving its worth. So our question right now is, what do we do with that Cyclops? So there's a third drop. They're outnumbered 7-4, so I'm not really sure why they're the ones making threats. But we actually lost the chance to move that Cyclops because we fell out and then back into combat, which could actually expose us to quite a bit of danger for that assault mech. I mean, decent armor on the rear of that mech, pretty good. Should survive a single mech shooting, but if they had, well, if the Awesome was moving faster, so that's an Awesome, it's a Black Knight, it's a Locust, and a Griffin, so we have a whole variety here. Let's see what we can do. Can we shoot in? Yeah, we have a decent chance to hit that Awesome, so let's go ahead and go for it. I mean, why not, right? So 33% instead of 35. It doesn't look like we get it. Yeah, no. So the Black Knight not actually taking the shot on the Cyclops. I'm a little bit surprised there, but let's go ahead and well, kind of position ourselves well. So we can move up this way. And next time, well, next round rather, use this rock to cut line of sight to at least part of the enemy firepower that we're a little bit too close to. And we have too good of a shot on that Locust to pass up. If this doesn't kill it, I'll be very surprised. So color me very surprised, because that Locust is somehow still alive. This is kind of what I've been complaining about for this Cyclops 10Z, and you know, I noticed not too long ago on the BattleTech Reddit there was some discussion going on about the different Cyclops models, and part of why I went with the 10Z instead of the 10HQ when we had the chance was the 10HQ has even less free tonnage than the 10Z. So what little firepower we have on this 10Z, we'd be even worse off if we got the 10 HQ. Now, granted, it comes with the Lance Command mod that reduces the damage we take and makes that Marauder so valuable. But it's not like it comes free. There is still a drawback to using the 10 HQ. So, there's no free lunch, and BattleTech is no exception, I suppose. So we could fire in. Let's see what our chances are. Too far out to use those Ultra AC-10s on the Awesome. Probably long range with the Black Knight too. That's why our accuracy is so horrible. And let's just see if we can pile in, finish what the Highlander started, and core that mech out, which we succeed in doing. And now we only have 2 left, right? So we have the Awesome, we have the Griffin, and that's really not that bad. So the Awesome moving up, not shooting. Maybe it didn't have, well, it looks like it has line of sight. I'd be really surprised if it didn't. The Marauder taking a decent bit of damage from the Griffin, nothing too crazy, but every bit does add up at the end, although it probably won't this time around. Not enough firepower left in the enemy Lance to really follow up on that threat. So let's go for that headshot, low odds, but we do quite a bit more damage on that right-hand side to the Awesome, and I'm mostly concerned with taking that mech out because in a one-on-one fight it may actually beat our Cyclops, and I have no intention of letting that ever be such a one-on-one fight. So we have line of sight. I'm really confused as to why that Awesome didn't shoot last turn, but I guess why question it, right? So this is kind of highlighting how you have to play a little bit differently against the AI than against a human opponent. I mean, I don't know of anyone who would have passed up on that shot. I mean, he wasn't even building any heat, right? There's no reason not to shoot there. Maybe I'm just trying to get you guys to all see that most of my success here has come from good luck rather than skill. But, that's the way of things anyway. So, firing in twin Gauss rifles on this awesome 8Q. Structure exposed. Again, the Gauss rifles are a little bit deceptive when they have those red numbers show up, just because each one does guaranteed damage to the internals every time it hits. 5 damage, I believe, base to the internals every single time, which is quite nice. So the Griffin has moved and will move again. Initiative 4, we don't have anything that can stop that. But the Awesome, with the triple PPC, is a bit more of my concern at the moment. So we open fire with the Annihilator, and actually don't manage to rip off an arm. This mech is proving to be quite a bit more resilient than I had kind of hoped for, pounding into that allied quick draw and exposing structure in one go. So those PPCs really proving their worth. So the Awesome has yet to move for this round, moving at the end of the last one, which is why it was so recent. It kind of feels like a bit of a waste now to go for that headshot. Well, but it feels like a bit of a waste on either one. So let's go ahead and fire in at the CT. We're in the right arc, which is why it was such a small chance, but we do manage to core out the Griffin, leaving just the Awesome on the field for the enemy. It's the quick draw, hiding, and, well, I can't really blame it for doing that. I mean, it did the correct facing as it should, and it braced, which will reduce the damage coming in. So it's all good there. I mean, there was nothing really I would have changed. Let's go ahead and take a precision strike on this Awesome and go for that right torso. And the reason, of course, landing a headshot. So I was going to explain, take guns off the field and all that, but that mech's just dead instead. So with that said, we'll be right back to the mission reward screen. Alright, so here we are, 1.6 million civils. For that, we've gotten no priority salvage, so that was taking it early for the money. Again, because I'm really less concerned with salvaging another heavier assault mech, and more concerned with getting access to that sweet, sweet black market and some of those nice fancy guns we can't get anywhere else. So with that said, we'll be right back with another mission. Alright, so we've dropped in again, this time on a jungle, and, well, we're working for Lady Arano, and I had meant to go with another pirate mission, but it was actually locked for 60 tons per mech or lighter, and we actually can't field a full lance matching that description at the moment, so yeah, it's a bit tricky there, less than fortunate, surely, but yeah, we have a good battle, and that should be fine. So we were told to expect serious, heavily armed resistance here, so I'm looking forward to seeing what we oppose. The only thing we can see so far, well, now that's changed a little bit. We have a 75-ton mech, and we have an 80-ton vehicle, which is probably one of those PPC or heavy gun carriers, if I had to guess. So we still don't see it. And this is where I've mentioned before I would kind of benefit from some indirect fire platforms. That's a Marauder 3R. So there's another 80-tonner and a 90-tonner, probably a Highlander if I had to guess, but that is just a guess at this point. I mean, you don't see Highlanders terribly often, but you don't really see 90-ton mechs that often, at least in my experience. I mean, I'm sure it's one of those random things where there's more confirmation bias than anything else going on, and that Marauder, 60% damage reduction, really shrugged off that head hit. Better for it than I had hoped, worse for us than I had desired. So let's go ahead and follow up with the Highlander, just pounding all the damage that we can, ineffectually for the moment, but we have no other targets right now. Into that Marauder, following up with all these nice ultra cannons. Ultra auto, the really nice cannons. I mean, you guys know what I mean. So let's move the Cyclops up and at an angle so we have a little bit of cover in those trees, decent evasion, and we should be well within range to fire in this round with all of that nice short-range weaponry we have there. And now we have a bit of a choice. We can move up the Marauder and shoot again, but I'd almost rather wait. I want that Marauder to move, their Marauder to move.
I've got eyes on hostile
Ooh, so it loses that damage resistance. That is an enemy reinforcing lance, and they're coming in arrayed such that they'll have quite a good accuracy bonus shooting downhill at us, which is a little bit disconcerting. Let's see what we can do. Okay, let's just go ahead and reserve. This is a bit risky. We could potentially take a lot of fire on one mech that's out of position, like that Marauder, and that is actually a PPC carrier that we see on the side.
Yes, Commander.
One of the most common heavy carriers in my own limited experience, and okay, that looks like I could walk there, and I can't, so that's quite unfortunate. We could move the Cyclops around to here, start moving him uphill. That actually might be worth it. It's splitting up a little bit more than I would like, but even just a bit of a distraction with somewhat worse accuracy would be nice. So let's go ahead and try to kill this PPC carrier right off the bat. Piling in more than enough damage there with that Annihilator to accomplish that purpose. This is probably another one, if I had to guess. But let's see, we can't get a shot on their Marauder. So let's see what we can do instead. We could sprint up this way. There would be worse options. Yeah, let's sprint the Marauder up here, get him into cover as well, and that is a lot of opposition. So there's a 90-ton, an 85, a 70, another 90, 75 here, and we need to start really pounding through these mechs faster than we are. I'm almost tempted, well, let's just do this for the moment. I don't want to expose our lance on the end turn, but they haven't really been moving into a place where we can hit them, which has been a little bit difficult for us. So the Marauder now moving well into view, taking aim and thankfully missing those PPC shots against our Annihilator. Again, the PPCs, well, they do a lot of damage, but it's almost worse for the accuracy penalty that they include. So let's see, let's move the Marauder up and around. Clear the way for something else to move up here, potentially get a shot in on this lane. And we have more than enough resolve here at the moment. We can go in for a nice headshot. Lucky if we get it, and we do. So that Marauder 3R is down. Unfortunately, I've yet again taken this mission for the money rather than the salvage. We could have potentially salvaged a full 90-tonner, and that may have sold for a decent amount. I wouldn't expect it to sell for more than we could get in payout here, but you know, sometimes I am surprised. And that mech can move, so let's just go ahead and reserve. Let that 90-tonner come forward if it feels like it. Most importantly, let's let it not shoot at us. And I think we will move the Annihilator down this way. Getting some vision, sure. Ooh, wow. Yeah, we could have gotten a 10 HQ as well, that's my bad. Would have actually let us field some interesting lance compositions without this Marauder here for that 10% damage mitigation that is near and dear to my heart, but alas. Moving the Highlander up, and well, the Cyclops can get a shot, but it'll probably just be with the snub PPC, so I'd actually rather sprint upwards toward this catapult here and open up with everything on the next round. So it looks like only the one mech from that reinforcing lance is up here. Fortunately, everything else is kind of bottlenecked through these woods, and let's see what we can do. So if we move up here, we actually have an interesting shot. So we get vision. That's a grasshopper. It's a nice energy platform, and we probably should have reserved again, but let's just go ahead and take that shot. And the reason I'm shooting in here is to, 1, slow that mech down to initiative 2, and 2, if we had gotten a headshot and taken that out, then we could have focused fire quite well with the Annihilator or the Highlander on, on that Cyclops. So a lot of missile damage pounding into the rear arc, potentially, of our Annihilator, and I'm very not happy with that. So yeah, we do take a pounding on that rear left torso, and we can't really afford to do that again. So for right now, we'll move around with this Annihilator, just come up this way. Demolisher, twin AC-20, so that thing needs to die. And it does, so that's 2 down, 3 down total, and 5 it looks like remaining, not too bad. The Grasshopper is slightly damaged, but shoots in, landing some of those medium lasers on the Marauder, and we're kind of proving the usefulness of moving up into that cover there. And I wonder, is that a rear arc? It's kind of hard to tell. There is a wonderful mod that allows you to see, it allows you to see where it is you're shooting, if it's a frontal arc, a side arc, anything like that. And that is quite handy, I will admit. Okay, so I went instinctively for the head there with that precision strike, but with 5% chance to hit it, I'd rather go in for that center torso. Again, this is Behemoth. She's kind of a worse pilot than the other pilots that we have currently fielded, which is why that head chance was 5% instead of 18. So only the Marauder has that truly wonderful 35% chance, but all the rest in our main setting anyway, the main lance, has a 15 to 18% chance, depending on a couple other factors, to hit the head. And looks like Medusa actually takes a head hit. Fortunately, just from a missile, so shouldn't be too bad there. Let's double check. Yeah, only taking, looks like 6 damage from that hit, which is not bad at all. So let's go ahead and move him out of that high fire zone. And we could fire in on the Cyclops. I suppose why not? So the CT there is damaged, but let's just go for the head, see if we can't get lucky here. And instead, most of that damage does actually pound right into the CT on that mech, it looks like. We'll have to check after they've made a couple moves. Okay. That catapult needs to die, because quite a bit of that fire, I think, was either on the side or rear of our Marauder, and I'm not comfortable with that at all. So the Cyclops 10Z is going to have to do yeoman's work up here in the next turn or two, or I will start to get a little bit concerned. So it looks like that was all clustered on the left side, not the rear, which is nice. So if we move up, we have a shot on the Cyclops and a way worse shot on the catapult. So we'll take the good shot on the Cyclops, no sense wasting it. And hopefully, even if we don't core this mech out, looks like we can't knock it, or even take off an arm or something like that. So we will be concentrating fire here with the Highlander on this next turn, but first I want to see how much damage we can do to this catapult. So we will take a precision strike just to slow it down to initiative 2, and firing in we do get that rear attack, not quite enough to bore through, but five structure remaining on that catapult C4, which is just, sometimes this game just makes you want to cry. Because now if we went in to shoot at the front, we'd have to bore all the way through that armor before hitting that 5 remaining structure. So at this point, the Cyclops, our Cyclops rather, does just have to take that mech out. And we missed the first Gauss rifle shot, despite having a 90% chance to hit. But that Cyclops is knocked, one of its arms is down, and hopefully when we take it off the battlefield, I'm actually not sure what happens for the passive buffs that it provides. They might go away, they might not, I'm not really sure. It would be a little bit weird to have everything suddenly become slower, but I've seen weirder things, so I guess we'll have to see. And it's been a while since we've actually killed anything, which is, that's never good. So the Marauder, I think at this point, does need to run, so we'll get as many evasion pips as we can on this thing. Try to, so we're still exposing the left-hand side to the enemy lance, but this is why we slowed down the catapult with that precision strike. It won't be firing in until initiative 2, where we should get first priority, and we can use that with the Cyclops 10Z. So we can take this mech, just run right into the rear arc of this catapult, and well, ooh, Battlemaster. Yeah, okay, so this is one of the drops we should have taken the salvage, I suppose. But let's just go ahead and load right into the rear arc of that mech, and that should be more than enough to core that thing out. So half the opposing force down, and we're still looking pretty good. So no internal structure damage yet. The Cyclops 10Z, although isolated, hasn't taken much damage and is largely fine. And now we can move up, well, okay, first with the Highlander. And we have a good shot there. We have a good shot here as well. Let's go ahead and take a shot on this Cyclops. See if we, well, let's answer the question. What does happen when you destroy the AI's initiative bonus? And by the way, this guy, because he is the HQ, not the Z version, is also carrying a Lance Command mod, which has been reducing all the damage that we do. So we unfortunately don't have a shot on the Cyclops, but we can take a shot on that Grasshopper. And the Grasshopper is a somewhat lighter mech anyway, so we have a good chance to hit that left torso. We do rip off the arm, and enough travels through to core that mech out in one go. And, you know, I've been wondering, right now we have double Ultra Autocannon 5, double Ultra Autocannon 10. I was wondering what it would be like if we could get a couple Ultra Autocannon 2s with the, well, with the plus 10 damage bonus on it. So, specialty equipment, black market, and all that, but still potentially something we could find. And piling a couple of those in, I think you can fit 3, either with 2 Ultra AC5s or Ultra AC10s. I can't quite remember which weight is feasible, which weight isn't at the moment. But I've been wondering if what would happen if we went for that, because the Ultra Autocannon 2s with those damage increases are pretty good, and they're actually, I think, a bit more efficient per unit weight in terms of dealing damage than those Ultra Autocannon 5s. They'll burn through ammunition quicker, firing 3 instead of 2, so 6 instead of 4 rounds per salvo. But AC2 rounds themselves, you get more per ton, so it might actually not even be any worse in terms of ammo consumption than our current setup. Let's go ahead and fire into the Cyclops. No sense in just shooting regularly when we have so much resolve available, and let's see if we can core this mech out. So bad accuracy again with that Gauss rifle, but you know, we manage it, and that's fine. So there's only one mech remaining for the enemy. It is okay, so we might not have actually been able to answer the question there, because this is a Cyclops 10Z. It is stock, so I would expect that ours would be able to out-trade it in a straight-up fight, but let's hope we don't have to answer that question. So the Annihilator is too far away to actually take a shot, but let's go ahead and sprint him up. He should be available next turn. And we have Medusa here. Do we have a shot? We do. So let's go ahead and take that Precision Strike, slow this mech down to Initiative 1. Go in for the head if we can, although I'd almost rather core this mech out. Sometimes I guess I have a bit of a vicious streak in me, and we get an ammo explosion. A bit lucky, but you know, it works out. And let's just go ahead and stand here and shoot. So piling all of the firepower from our entire lance into this poor damaged Cyclops 10C, and if it were a Highlander, this is where I would say there can only be one or something like that, but it falls a bit more flat, since you know our Highlander is in the lance, but he's not the one currently going up against that mech, and we don't have a shot, so we will reserve, let that Cyclops come to us. Now firing in with, it looks like, only either an SRM-4 or an LRM-5, kind of hard to tell. SRM-4, so we just have a lot of damage mitigation on the Annihilator at the moment. Let's go ahead and take one last Precision Strike. If this doesn't kill it, then I would be very surprised. So that mech goes down, and well, the salvage screen for this would be pretty boring. We're just getting a little bit of C-bills, so that will be the episode. Thank you all for sticking around, and if you like this content, please do like, share, and subscribe, and we'll be right back with another episode.
Mission successful.